Shocking truth. Why the Netherlands isn't underwater at 3 a.m. You won't believe what they found. As the clock struck 3, the air in the Netherlands was thick with tension. That mysterious hour when shadows creep and secrets tremble in the dark. Curious locals had gathered, clinging to an electrifying sense of anticipation. Everyone whispered about the low rumble that vibrated through the earth. It was like the ground itself was trying to tell them something. What could be so urgent that it demanded attention at this witching hour? Rumors spread like wildfire. A fisherman had claimed he saw something beneath the waterline, something that flickered and twisted. Others spoke of glowing orbs that floated just above the surface, leading down to unseen depths. Was it an underground city? Lost treasure? Or something more sinister? The soft lapping of water against the shores was the only sound breaking this rising tide of curiosity, half hidden by the gentle mist. The moon cast an eerie glow, illuminating anxious faces. Eyes widened, and hearts raced as they turned, synchronously, toward the still waters. Then came the first strange element, a figure, cloaked in shadows, slipping through the fog. A collective gasp echoed across the crowd. Can you imagine the tightness in your chest? The lump in your throat? That's when the whispers escalated to fear, and one brave soul shouted, "Is anyone else seeing this?" The figure beckoned, as if daring the onlookers to follow. What lay just beyond the light? And why did it feel as if the walls separating reality had thinned, leaving behind the jagged edges of unanswered questions? The air crackled with an invisible energy, pushing them closer, pulling them toward whatever mystery waited just beneath the surface. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And just as the group edged closer, a deafening silence cloaked the atmosphere. It was the kind of silence that makes your skin crawl, the kind that makes you question if it's really worth it to step into the murkiness of the unknown. The figure turned, revealing nothing but darkness. No features, no trace of identity, just an overwhelming presence that sent chills down their spines. What did it mean? What had they stumbled upon? The only light now was the flicker of their own frantic hearts racing under an unforgiving moon, pounding against the sudden awareness that the answers might be more dangerous than they ever imagined. In that moment, as the banks of the canals loomed ominously nearby, everyone felt the weight of their own curiosity. But now, the question remained. What was truly lurking beneath the dark waters, and were they ready to dive deep enough to uncover the secrets that had been hidden for centuries? A frigid gust of wind swept through the crowd, and the air grew thick with apprehension. That dark figure stood firm, as if daring anyone to step forward. The villagers hesitated. Fear battled with fascination. Could curiosity override their instinct for self-preservation? The figure's gaze seemed to pierce through the fog, tugging at something primal within them, urging them to leap into the unknown. Then, without warning, a piercing scream shattered the silence. A woman stumbled back, pointing toward the water. "Look, it's moving." Her words sent shockwaves through the crowd. Eyes darted, and tension spiraled, twisting tighter around their throats like a noose. All heads turned toward the surface, where faint ripples began to undulate in a bizarre pattern. Almost choreographed in their dance, a glow emerged, muted yet mesmerizing. The orbs had returned, slowly rising to cloak the water in an otherworldly light. The single beam of moonlight danced upon the curious phenomena, revealing hints of shapes beneath, the possibility of something alive, something that no rational mind could easily accept. As the light pulsated softly, it echoed with a heartbeat, syncing with their own erratic pulses. The crowd instinctively moved closer, drawn by a magnetic force. What was it that entranced them so completely? Perhaps they were looking for answers, but what if the truth was far more horrifying than they could fathom? One bold fisherman stepped forward, stepping blindfolded into uncertainty. He gleamed of determination, but his feet wavered at the water's edge, hesitation evident in the tremor of his hands. "Don't!" An elderly voice cracked from the back, the weight of years and wisdom hanging in the air. But was it too late? The fisherman, driven by a primal need to uncover the hidden mysteries, carefully waded in. Each step forward sent plumes of water splashing against his legs, mingling earth with uncertainty. Suddenly, a ripple erupted. The water churned beneath him like a tempest, sucking him downward with shocking speed. Gasps of horror erupted from the crowd. They screamed, frozen in shocked disbelief, but they couldn't look away. Was this the moment of revelation or unspeakable horror? Panic surged as some rushed forward, arms outstretched, while others staggered backward, terror gripping them in icy fingers. And just then, as the island of waving bodies rocked with trepidation, the figure in darkness laughed softly. It was a chilling sound that dug deep into their bones. "You seek the truth, but in light only shadows dance. The waters here hold memories, both beautiful and dark." With those haunting words echoing in their ears, the fisherman vanished beneath the surface, leaving behind ripples and silence. Would he resurface, or was he lost to the depths forever? Questions pounded in their minds. What did that figure know? Why had they chosen this moment, this place? The allure of the unknown clung to the air, tinged with desperation and dread. And just before the anguished cries could drown out reason, a clawed hand broke through the surface, grasping for air, a dark silhouette emerging from the depths. The nightmare was only just beginning. What else lurked beneath the waves? And was anyone truly prepared for the revelations waiting to rise with it? The clawed hand retracted, dragging a shivering figure from the depths. The crowd gasped, recognizing the fisherman, his face pale and haunted, eyes wide with terror. Water streamed off him, glistening like moments stolen from time. As he sputtered gasps of air, the onlookers trembled, their collective heartbeats rising like the tide. "What did you see?" bellowed a woman, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and urgency. But the fisherman could only shake his head, mouth moving but words trapped somewhere within. He looked over his shoulder, as though he could still feel the weight of whatever had pulled him under. The figure in darkness remained steady, leaning closer, the corners of its lips curling with a knowing smirk. "Ah, the brave soul returns. But at what cost?" It spoke smoothly, the tone a sharp contrast to the chaos around them. The wind whistled, carrying its words like a dark promise. "What was lost will not easily return." Gasps filled the air, each person wrestling with their instincts. Some stepped back, fear chalked across their faces. Others leaned in, curiosity driving them closer, the dread thickening the atmosphere like a fog. They were drawn like moths to a flame, desperate for understanding yet terrified of the blaze ahead. "What do you mean?" shouted someone from the back, their voice rising above the din. "What did you take from him?" Nearby villagers exchanged wide-eyed looks, dread settling upon them like ashes from a burned forest. What they feared most was the truth lurking beneath the surface, hidden in shadows and whispers. "Things are never quite what they seem," murmured the figure, its eerie presence fraying the edges of rationale. "This place is steeped in forgotten tales, memories of the drowned." It continued, slowly raising an elongated finger toward the water. "Each ripple you see is a story, and each story has a price." The fisherman took a staggered step back, his expression a mix of horror and reality crashing down around him. He clutched his chest, shuddering as if the very water he emerged from had seeped into his bones. He could feel fragments of what he had witnessed gnawing at the corners of his mind. "Tell us," someone shouted, anger boiling beneath the surface of their fear. "What did you see down there?" In the chaotic rustle of the crowd, just as the fisherman opened his mouth, the water erupted again, this time in a violent splash that sent chills through their spines. An ominous figure breached the surface alongside shimmering scales and glowing eyes that seemed to penetrate the twilight. The ripple of fear spread far and wide. Something ancient stirred beneath, awakening. The dark shape danced just beneath the water, waiting for the perfect moment to expose itself fully. Leave while you can," cried the fisherman, voice laced with urgency. "Don't linger, this place holds shadows for a reason." But the crowd hesitated, frozen between their thirst for knowledge and the gnawing instinct for survival. And there it was again, the laugh, chilling and mocking, weaving through the wind. "Fools," the figure cooed. "The truths you seek are not for the faint of heart. But I assure you, something wondrous awaits with that." The water surged, and the haunting glow intensified. The shadows beneath began to swirl, revealing glimpses of forms and faces twisted in silence, specters caught between realms. Was this a portal to another world or a path to madness? The air thickened with dread, and the figure leaned forward again, drawing them, almost seducing them with promises of knowledge. The fisherman's cries faded, drowned out by escalating waves of curiosity and fear crashing against each other. Could they resist the pull of the unknown? What truths awaited them in the depths? Was this their moment of reckoning, or had they opened a door that was better left shut? As the waters churned violently, a single whisper hung in the air, almost drowned by the chaos. "Will you dare to look?" And in that moment, they faced a choice that threatened to change everything. The crowd, eyes wide and breaths shallow, teetered on the edge of a collective decision. The fisherman's warning echoed in each heart, but the pull from the dark figure was magnetic. "Look," someone finally shouted, pointing at the bubbling water. The surface broke violently again, water spraying like a curtain, revealing a dark, serpentine figure gliding beneath. The glow intensified, casting eerie shapes on the faces of onlookers. Horror morphed with intrigue. What haunted secrets did the depths hold? Murmurs washed over the crowd, a mix of excitement and terror. "Don't do it," another voice cried, but the sound was lost in the waves of humanity pressing forward. Those skeptical of the creature's allure began to back away, their instincts screaming for distance, yet they were outnumbered by the zealots hungry for truth. The figure above the water laughed again, a sound that seemed to ripple through the air like a low thunder. "Fear can just as easily be a beacon, guiding you closer," it teased. "Dive deep, and you may uncover treasures that your mundane lives can't fathom." The fisherman stumbled backward, shaking his head, despair etched across his sunken features. "You don't understand. The water takes as well as it gives. You think it's magic? It's a curse. If you go down there, you might not come back." But the murmur of unease mixed with the adrenaline of promise tugged at the crowd. They glanced at one another, something igniting in their collective gaze, a flicker of hope wrapped in desperation. Perhaps their lives had been too dull, too trapped in routine. Perhaps it was time to unearth the hidden, the mystical. Suddenly, the water erupted again, and with it, a figure emerged. Half submerged, it was beautiful and horrifying all at once. Human-like yet distinctly not, its shimmering scales reflected the pale moonlight in dazzling patterns. Eyes like the night sky filled with stars, pierced through the darkness, and for a moment, the crowd was frozen, ensnared by its hypnotic gaze. "Will you trade your burdens for what lies beneath?" the creature sang, voice flowing like the water. The crowd, drawn closer still, felt the weight of their own lives pulling them downward, drowning out their fear. Then, with a suddenness that left everyone gasping, the fisherman lunged forward, sprinting into the crowd. "You must leave. Now." Tears streamed down his cheeks, his voice cracking as it fought against the allure. "It's a price you can't afford to pay." But the creature just laughed, its melody weaving through the chaos like smoke. "Foolish mortals, do you think your gravity can hamper our dance? You linger, you desire, the abyss beckons." As fear pulsed through the masses, something shifted within the crowd. Their curiosity, kindled by desire, could no longer be ignored. Heads nodded slowly, allowing emotions to take control. The distant shoreline felt like chains keeping them shackled in banality. "Those who return speak of glorious truths," someone murmured, eyes sparkling with temptation. A soft murmur of agreement rippled through the throng. The fisherman, heart pounding in his chest, strived to rally them back to reality. "What you call glory will cost you the very essence of who you are. Don't give in." But even as he cried his futile warnings, a few began inching closer to the waterous edge, curiosity taking the reins. The surrounding noise faded, washed away by the calling presence of the water and creature. Suddenly, with a resounding splash, it lunged from the depths, showcasing its terrifying beauty. The crowd gasped, but instead of retreating, the scene ignited a frenzy. Hands reached out, fingers stretched toward the water in a mixed spell of disbelief and desire. The glowing figure beckoned, its haunting eyes locking onto theirs. "Join us in the depths," it whispered, the words seductive. "Unlock your fate," and in that very moment, the first brave soul stepped forward to the edge, preparing to plunge into the unknown, unaware of the reality that awaited them. Would this decision forever alter their fates, or would they rise to the surface, paying the ultimate cost? As the water began to swirl ominously, one haunting question lingered in the air. What kind of sacrifices are you willing to make? A pregnant silence fell over the crowd as the first figure stammered, hesitating at the brink. Eyes filled with wonder, the onlookers held their breath, caught between dread and anticipation. They watched as the brave soul teetered, wavering on the edge of the dark abyss, hypnotized by the creature's glittering scales and alluring call. "Stop!" shouted a woman from the back. Her voice cut through the air, but it felt more like a whisper against the crashing waves. "It's not what it seems." But the words bounced off the thrumming excitement of the crowd, drowning in a sea of longing. The fisherman, now desperate, surged forward again, shoving through the onlookers with wild, frantic eyes. "You don't know what's down there," he screamed, but the fervor around him stifled his cries. Suddenly, the brave soul dove, a silhouette disappearing into the water with a graceful plunge. The crowd gasped and then, enraptured, they all turned to the depths, entranced, as rippling rings spread like whispers told in the silence. "What have you done?" The fisherman's voice cracked as cold dread washed over him. His heart raced faster than he could comprehend. He clambered forward, intent on pulling the figure back, but the water surged anew, rising around him like an angry tide, and he staggered back, stumbling into the surf with an explosion of foamy bubbles. The water shivered, and he thought briefly he saw something beneath the surface. Not merely a shadow, it was a parade of figures, flitting between the depths, each more captivating and grotesque than the last. "Come play. Join us." The voice of the creature twisted through the air, a melody steeped in dark promises. "You'll never know true joy until you embrace the depths." From the crowd came unsteady murmurings. "She took the plunge, she'll find it," whispered one, while another scoffed, "They're lost. Only insanity lies beneath." As opinions clashed, the air grew thick with mounting desperation and wild enthusiasm. The fisherman's gaze darted, locking onto the spot where the brave soul had disappeared. "No," he screamed. "You can't trust them. It's a trap." But already, two others had stepped forward, surrendering to the spark of allure igniting within. They too plunged, flames of hope sparking in their hearts, unaware of the rising storm of shadows brewing below. The water roared with ferocity now, dragging the crowd closer to the shoreline, urging them to jump. Each splash sent a shiver of fear tinged with irresistible desire through the throng. Suddenly, a pulse of electricity rippled through the air as the sky darkened, clouds swirling ominously above. A storm was brewing not just above, but below. "Is this their doing?" the fisherman gasped. "Can they control the storms?" Everyone turned upward, the idyllic night shifting into chaos. Raindrops began to pelt the ground, shaking the very core of their decision. The creature's laughter rang hollow against the howl of the wind, its shimmering scales now reflecting the dramatic rawness of nature's wrath. "Fear not. Rejoice." It beckoned again, but this time, there was a frenzied edge to its tone, as though the coming storm was dragging it down as much as it sought to entice. The horizon flickered with lightning, illuminating figures in the water, faces twisted in ecstasy and terror. Would they emerge triumphant as promised? Or was their fate already sealed within an inescapable curse? Who will follow? The creature howled, its voice weaving dangerously through the wind, igniting the frenzy anew. What treasures lie in your heart? Come, embrace the unknown. And in that moment of thunderous chaos, another figure stepped forward. Sweating palms, racing heart, caught between fear and an almost irresistible yearning as they plunged into the depths. A chilling realization struck the fisherman. Would his warnings reach them before it was too late? The clock was ticking. The storm raging, a decision hung in the air, potent as the charged atmosphere surrounding them. And above all else, the question that lingered still: what price is worth paying for redemption? The storm intensified, mercilessly whipping the ocean into a frenzy. Waves crashed and surged, sending up glistening sprays that mingled with the rain, and the creaturesque laughter cut through the din, turning exuberance into a twisted form of madness. Just jump, it shrieked, the voice now a seductive siren lost in the tempest. Leave behind your woes. In the depths, freedom awaits. The fisherman could feel the weight of despair thickening in the air. He pushed through the throng, calling out to them, his voice barely audible over the roar of the storm. Listen, you'll drown in your desires. Come back. But the crowd was lost now, their eyes glazed and filled with something else: hunger. Perhaps? He watched in silent horror as another brave soul took their leap, diving headfirst into the murky abyss. And then, one by one, they plunged. It was a wave of madness, consuming anyone who could hear the siren-esque call. The fisherman stumbled backward, overwhelmed. He could hardly breathe, every warning he had screamed falling on deaf ears, swallowed by the raging winds. Stop this madness, he cried, desperation clawing at his heart. You'll perish. His words washed away as thunder cracked overhead. The sky split open with blinding light. The water roiled, and the figures below began to dance, illuminated momentarily by strikes of lightning. What he saw made his blood run cold: twisted forms, half human, half something else entirely, lured by an insatiable hunger. Shadows wove through the depths with a purpose that sent chills down his spine. With each new figure that vanished into the depths, hope flickered dimmer in the fisherman's heart. His fight was slipping away, consumed by the tidal wave of seduction. Suddenly, a glimmer caught his eye. One of the figures was not just a silhouette but a distinct shape. His gaze sharpened, heart pounding as recognition struck. No, he gasped, the breath torn from his lungs. It was her, his own sister, who years ago had vanished, leaving nothing but tears in his heart and questions in his mind. What was she doing there? He hadn't seen her in years. Could it really be her? A part of him longed to believe that she had found happiness, but dread gripped him when he recalled her depthless sadness, the nights spent searching for her glow in the dark. Turn back, please. His voice, raw now, fought against the storm's howl, but she didn't hear him. She smiled, a radiance shining through even the chaos, and with that smile, she plunged. A gasp rippled through the crowd, and screams erupted, voices driven by confusion and fear. Some realized the perilous trap they were about to follow. Others thrilled at the notion of escape, their hearts racing with reckless abandon. I have to save her, the fisherman thought, desperation igniting his resolve. He fought against the tide, stepping toward the brink, but the roar of the waves intensified, as if the storm itself was warning him back. He felt the creature's presence, lurking behind him, waiting silently. Join her, it will be glorious, it whispered, looming ever closer. The fisherman felt its breath against his ear, and goosebumps prickled his skin. Don't, you'll lose everything, he bellowed, refusing to yield. But as the creature's song entwined itself around him, he found his thoughts drifting, memories of those lost clawing their way back to his heart, his sister's laughter echoing in his mind. Was joy really found beneath those waves, or just madness, cloaked in illusion? Lightning crashed again, illuminating a path that twisted both above and below. A decision loomed larger than the storm. Would he jump like the others or hold fast to hope? Would he dare plunge into the depths if it meant facing what lay beneath his past? The air shifted, an electric tension crackling between them as the creature let out a low, guttural growl, a warning shot into the night. The moment hummed with anticipation, a choice begging to be made, and as he stood at the edge, caught between choices, he asked himself one final question. What if this leap could change everything? The fisherman's heart raced, beating a frantic rhythm against his ribs as he hovered at the cliff's edge. Was it courage or fear that urged him forward? The shrieks of the crowd melded into a cacophony, each plea drowning in the storm. But one voice stood out, his sister's voice, sweet and innocent, echoing through the storm's fury. "Don't you see? I'm free," she had said the night she vanished. But he could see the truth now. The freedom she sought was seduction wrapped in danger, a perilous trap. Please. With every fiber of his being, he fought the pull of the abyss. He couldn't let her go again. He couldn't watch her slip away into shadows that promised joy, but offered only despair. The wind howled like a wounded beast, ruffling his hair, tugging at his clothes. His feet trembled. He was torn between desire and duty, light and dark. Suddenly, the moment felt infinite. It hung in the tempest like the eye of a hurricane, and he grasped the brief stillness as his last chance. "Feel it." A voice chimed above the storm, crystal clear. It was the creature, seemingly serene in the chaos, wrapping itself around his mind like a cold embrace. "Isn't it beautiful? This world beneath the waves? Sweet, sweet release." As if on cue, the tide surged upward, crashing against the rocks with renewed ferocity. Shadows writhed beneath the water's surface, beckoning, whispering secrets in a language too smooth and hypnotic to resist. The fisherman gasped, stuck between the horror of witnessing his sister cross into the darkness and the tantalizing draw of the abyss. "Look closer," the creature urged, its breath hot against his ear like a seductive promise. "See what awaits you." Lightning pierced the heavens again, and for a fraction of a second, the ocean revealed a glimpse of what lay beneath the half-formed entities of lost souls, clawed hands reaching out from the depths. He felt the chill of their despair like a frigid hand wrapping around his heart. It wasn't freedom they desired. It was company in torment. "No," he screamed, shaking his head fiercely. "This isn't freedom. It's chains disguised as dreams." For the first time, he fought back, narrowing his mind against the whispers clawing at his sanity. He turned his focus up to the storm, seeking any glimmer of hope in that chaos. The crowd had thinned, but he could still see figures hesitating, torn between the call of the depths and a flicker of doubt. "Stay with me," he shouted, voice hoarse. "Don't let it take you." His words ricocheted against the roar of the storm, rising above the monster's song like a lone lighthouse. He pulled back from the edge, and in that single beat, clarity dawned. His sister wasn't lost forever. A flicker of hope ignited within him. He could save her, but he had to face the creature first. Suddenly, the realization hit him. A spark of fury burst inside him. "I will not be a pawn," he thundered, glaring into the depths, and as if in response, the storm roared louder, churning the waters and sending sprays of salt-laden mist into the air like tears. The creature recoiled, angered, and the fisherman seized the moment. "If you want her, you'll have to face me," he declared, stepping back from the brink, pulling a shard of glass from his pocket, a memento from ages past. As the creature lunged, a scream pierced the night, but it was not his. The realization crashed over him. What had he done? In a split second, he understood. The storm hadn't just been a warning. It was a reckoning. "You have no idea what you're unleashing," he shouted defiantly at the swirling chaos, gripping the shard, its edge sharp against his palm. With all his might, he would turn this tide. But could he survive the fury within? Suddenly, the ground beneath him tremored. The contrast of light and shadow flickered violently. The storm was only just beginning, and as he stood against the lurching chaos, the decisive moment hung in the air. He knew the next blow would be the one to change everything. What would it take to break free from the creature's grasp? Would he stand firm against the madness, or would its allure drag him down? The answer loomed just out of reach, shrouded in the tempest's depths. The earth quaked beneath his feet, a violent reminder of the chaos surrounding him. Staring into the churning sea, he realized he was stepping into a twisted game beyond his comprehension. The shard of glass in his palm felt like a lifeline, yet it also whispered the danger he could unleash if he miscalculated. Come closer. The creature beckoned again, its voice now soothing, a deceptive lullaby laced with malice. It's not a battle you crave, it's peace. Together, we can have everything you desire. He gritted his teeth, desperately trying to drown out its persuasion. You're lying. You just want to drag me down into your dark abyss. His voice cracked, a mix of fear and rage coursing through him. Suddenly, the waters surged fiercely. Tendrils of fog seeped from the ocean, wrapping around his ankles like shackles, pulling him closer to the edge. Behind him, the remnants of the crowd gaped in horror. A few had turned away, unable to withstand the mounting pressure. But a handful remained, faces strained, their eyes wide with terror and indecision. Don't listen to it, one man shouted, desperation in his voice. It's a trick. It feasts on despair. The words hung in the air, but the fishermen could see the uncertainty flicker in others' hearts. They were teetering on a precipice just as dangerous as his. The fog thickened, creeping upwards, cloaking the precipice in a shroud of shadow. He remembered the last time he had felt hopeless, lost in the depths of grief when his sister's laughter had faded. Pain crushed his chest, but it ignited a spark of defiance. He couldn't let that darkness consume him again, with every ounce of his strength. He dug the shard into the earth, anchoring himself against the pull of the tide. I will fight you, he roared, almost surprised by the sound of his own conviction. The surface of the sea transformed, a whirlpool swirling with fury. Lost souls surfaced, their faces twisted in torment, eyes pleading for release, but only offering despair. It was a harrowing sight, yet it rolled the dice of uncertainty. Could he save even one of them? What have you done? The creature hissed, its allure cracking. The winds howled louder in response, a cry of agony. I've taken back my choice, he shouted, feeling the intensity of the moment grinding against his bones. He wielded his fear like a weapon, focusing it all on the creature that had tried to steal his sister and countless others. You can't break our will. I know the truth. A flash of lightning illuminated the chaos for the briefest heartbeat, casting eerie shadows that danced around him. In that moment, he saw his sister's face among the shadows, fragile, hopeful. The memory spurred him into action. With a guttural scream, he lunged forward, shard of glass slicing through the fog. A shockwave rippled through the air, and the sea roared in protest. Let her go, he demanded, but the wind seemed to cackle as it swept around him. That in a blinding flurry, the depths of the ocean exploded. Water gushed upward, crashing against him. For a split second, he felt weightless, like all things were possible. Then the force struck him like a freight train, throwing him back against the rocky ledge, breath knocked from his lungs. Broken shards of memory flashed before his eyes, mixture of past joy and present terror. But the storm still raged. Relentless, he coughed salty water, eyes burning, heart racing as he struggled to his feet. The crowd had dispersed, fleeing from the violence. His breath hitched. Was it too late for anyone to help? But then he caught sight of her, a figure, hidden in the maelstrom, its hair glowing faintly in the dark. His heart raced anew. Sister, I'm coming, he yelled, voice cracking under the weight of desperation as he staggered forward. The creature's laughter rang out, chilling him to the core. Foolish boy, it's not you who will save her, it's her choice. With a looming shadow swallowing the last vestiges of hope, he struggled against the pull of despair. Would he reach her before the darkness enveloped them both? Time slipped away, the answers, intertwining with the storm's fury, threatening to consume them all. The next unraveling shadow loomed closer, and one question remained: could he breach the surface of chaos before it pulled them both into the abyss? The roar of the waves drowned out his thoughts, but his sister's figure remained close enough to drive him forward. Each step felt like pulling against a tide too strong to fathom. The wind screamed around him, clashing with the creature's maddening laughter. He refused to let fear consume him again. Just a little closer, it taunted, shifting shapes in the fog, dark tendrils jutting out as if to grasp at his heart. Leave the past behind, let me show you peace. With every word, the creature toyed with his emotions, dragging up memories of loss the day their family was torn apart like a wave crashing on rocky shores. He could see it now, the day his sister disappeared beneath the water, her desperate gaze forever etched in his mind. Yet her glow drew him, illuminating the chaos around them. He had to break this illusion. He had to fight for her, for their family. I'm not afraid of you, he shouted, forcing his way through the fog, heart pounding as a pulse of determination overwhelmed the pull of despair. Suddenly, the ground shook again, and a crack formed at his feet, branches of dark energy spiraling down into churning water below. A deep rumble rolled through the air, shaking him to his core. It's too late, the creature snarled, its voice contorting into a guttural hiss. You are all lost to the depths. No, he bellowed, gripping the shard tighter. With a fierce thrust, he plunged it down, right into the fissure opening beneath him. An eruption followed, a bright flash spiraling out, sending waves of light cascading through the fog. The creature's cry of rage rang out as the tide surged backward, revealing dark forms writhing below. What he couldn't see, but could feel, was the pull of the souls in distress. He had to make a choice. Turning back meant abandoning his sister to the darkness. Pushing forward threatened to consume them both. He swallowed hard, shaking with the weight of his decision. I'll save you, he shouted to the shadows below, to his sister, and to himself. In the harrowing silence that followed, he felt a shift. There was a flicker of light behind the chaos, a hint of warmth piercing through the cold darkness. With renewed fervor, he stumbled towards it, each shivering step echoing with the promise of reunion. As he approached, the faces of the lost began to fade, their expressions shifting from despair to confusion. What do you want from us? One voice echoed from the depths, a remnant from those lost at sea. I want to bring you home, he cried, feeling his hope burning brighter. His heart raced as the truth weighed down on him. He had the power to stand against the creature's grip, yet he knew he couldn't do it alone. Help me fight, he begged, voice straining against the storm. Don't you want to be free? The hesitation hung in the air, thick as the dark fog swirling around. He felt it, their pain mirrored his own, but were they ready to embrace the light? Rise with me, he demanded, feeling his sister's glow pushing him forward, igniting the dim embers of courage within. Let us break this cycle together. Then, as if responding to the enormity of his plea, the shadows shifted. Faces began to form, recognizing the glimmer of hope he offered. A chorus of whispers filled the air, those lost resounding a shared thought. Together, but the creature's fury sparked anew, swirling the currents into a violent frenzy. You think you can break my hold with mere words? This is your undoing. He barely had time to react as a tendril of shadow lashed out, knocking him to the ground, the shard flying from his grasp. Panic flared in his chest. The connection he had built began to fray, and he could feel himself starting to slip. Struggling to rise against the weight of despair, he glanced up just in time to see the dark form drawing closer, ready to strike. But then, something shifted. The lost forms, united for a moment, surged ahead, pulling him back from the brink. The tide began to roil violently, as if torn by unseen forces. Whether or not you are worthy, you still have a choice, they shouted back, a chorus of determination. As the creature lunged at him, claws extending like daggers, time seemed to warp. He reached for the shard, fingers brushing against its jagged edge, and he screamed. Together, with one last push, would they reclaim their fate, or would they plunge headlong into despair? The answer hung tantalizingly close, just beyond the veil. But one question remained, echoing through the tempest: would they unite against the depths before darkness swallowed them whole? The storm raged, a tangible battle between light and shadow. Waves crashed violently against the shoreline, the chaos echoing the turmoil of hearts caught in the grip of ancient wonders and modern despair. The fisherman, trembling and torn, felt the calls of both his sister and the whispering darkness. Determination surged within him, igniting a fire that burned as bright as the moon behind the clouds. "We have to stand together," he shouted, his voice slicing through the tempest. "All of us, we can break this curse." With those words, he forced himself to rise. He could see the figures of the lost, their faces twisted in the agony of despair. Yet now there flickered something else, an inkling of hope. They were bound together, their fates intertwined. They had all suffered beneath the weight of the creature's dark pull, and now they could share their strength. "Join me," he cried, heart racing, as he caught sight of the glowing form. "Sister, I see you." His gaze steadied upon her, a beacon in the storm. Memories flooded his mind, laughter, warmth, the light she brought, and beneath the terror they now faced, he could still feel her essence, vibrant and alive. "We're stronger together. We can beat back this darkness." As if his words had unleashed something profound, a surge of energy rippled through the crowd. The shadows hesitated. The pull of the creature faltered in the face of unity. The lost souls began to reform, flickering glimmers of their former selves sparking to life around him. They recognized their collective pain, and from it emerged a resolute desire to escape the throes of despair. "Together against the depths," came the rising chorus, underlined by fierce determination. Each cry climbed over the storm's roaring wind, intertwining like a web of light woven through darkness. Then, the shadow thrummed angrily, and the creature shrieked, its voice a guttural warning. "You dare defy me? You will all suffer for this. The depths hold only ruin." The fisherman stood firm, holding his ground, wearing the knowledge that love could not be extinguished by fear. "No, you hold no power over us." He felt the energy from the lost souls resonate, creating a shield against the encroaching shadows. This is not just a fight to save her. It's a fight for all of us. With a sudden blaze of purpose, every single spirit aligned, rallying their energies together, a force drawn into one dazzling pulse that surged toward the creature. As it prowled ominously closer, glowing figures swarmed around it, clashing violently against its darkness. Each soaring flash illuminated the agony of the lost, empowering their cries for liberation. Then came the moment. From the mingled chaos emerged a shimmering ray of brilliance. It wove through the shadows like a knife, severing their sinister energy and pushing against the creature's grasp. "Feel the light," the fisherman bellowed, extending his hands. "We are the echoes of hope. Our memories unify us. Together we are stronger." The jet-black darkness writhed, screeching against the radiant force of their unity. The fisherman pressed forward, moving with an urgency he never thought possible. "Sister," he cried out, imploring enough belief to reach her. "Take my hand. We will show you the way back." Something cracked in the shadows, then a fracture that disrupted the cyclone of whispers. Instead of despair, whispers of light now began to swell, circling the figures in fragile arcs. The swirling tide came to a calamitous halt, and in the eye of the storm their eyes locked. The fisherman didn't hesitate. He plunged into the darkness, reaching out, feeling fear turn to burning resolve. "I love you," he shouted, willing her to hear him. And then she was there, grasping his hand, her grip tight. "I'm scared," came her anguished plea from the depths. But there it was, hope ignited between them. "Together we can rise." With resolve, he pulled her close, the power of their connection transforming the chaos around them. The darkness recoiled. The shadows twisted and shrieked in defiance, but they couldn't take their strength. Together, they climbed upward, emerging from the water's dark clutches, captives no longer but saviors reborn in light. The torrent relinquished its grip as fractured souls broke free, ascending into the swirling skies above, illuminating a path out of despair. And as the tempest subsided, the last echoes of the creature's rage fell silent, crumbling into forgotten tales of the drowned. In the aftermath, the fisherman caught his breath, his sister by his side, heart pounding in triumph. Around them, the villagers gathered, faces lit by the glow of dawn breaking on the horizon. They embraced one another, the darkness dispelled, the weight of fear lifted. Hope renewed, They understood that beneath their trials lay a well of strength forged in unity. They were forever changed, but they now stood fortified by love, ready to face the world above. Together in the midst of the dawn. As they turned away from the water, the fishermen couldn't help but smile. This day, their day, was theirs to claim. And remember this moment, because it is in all of us the choice to rise, the choice to love, and the conviction to never again let shadows hold sway. Now, if you don't want to miss more epic stories like this, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help other curious souls find this tale. Don't wait even one more second to flood our comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think of the creature? Did the villagers know they could stand together like that? And last but not least, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, join the community, and ensure we can keep bringing you the stories you love.